በቤቶም ሆነ በመኪናው ወይም በማንኛውም ስፍራ ላይ ሆነው ኢንተርኔት እስካለው ድረስ ኢቢኤስ አብሮት አለ። በስልክ፣ በታብሌት፣ በኮምፒውተር፣ በቴሌቪዥንም ሆነ በማንኛውም ኢንተርኔት መጠቀም የሚያስችል የመገናኛ መሳሪያ ላይ የኢቢኤስ ፕላስን የ24 ሰዓት ስርጭቶች ከኢትዮጵያ ውጭ በማንኛውም ሀገር መከታተል ይችላሉ። ኢቢኤስ ፕላስ ከዓለም አቀፋዊ ስርጭቱ በተጨማሪ የ24 ሰዓት ፊልምና ሙዚቃ ጣቢያዎችን አካቶ መጥቷል። ታዲያ እነዚህ ምርጥ 3 ጣቢያዎች ለማግኘት የሚጠበቅብዎ በቀን 30 ሳንቲም የማይሞላ ማለትም በወር $8.99 ክፍያ ብቻ ነው። ለዓመትም ከፈለጉን ደግሞ 2 ወሩን በነፃ እንሸልሞታለን። ምርጫው በስልክ አንድሮይድ ስማርትፎን ከሆነ ጉግል ፕሌይ ስቶር ላይ ኢቢኤስ ቲቪ ብለው ይጻፉና ይፈልጉ። ከዚያም ኢንስቶል በማድረግ ኢቢኤስ ኤችዲ ወይም የኢቢኤስ ፕላስ የኢቢኤስ ሲኒማ የኢቢኤስ ሙዚቃ ለ24 ሰዓት አማርጠው ይመልከቱ። ሌላው ደግሞ በቀጥታ በቴሌቪዥን መስኮት ፕሮግራሞችን መከታተል ካሻው ኬብል ደና ሰንብት ካሰኙት የዘመኑ ቴክኖሎጂዎች አንዱ የሆነው ጉግል ቲቪን መጠቀም ይችላሉ። የአማዞን ድረገጽ ላይ ወይም በአቅራቢያው ባለ ኤሌክትሮኒክስ መሸጫ መደብር በመሄድ ጉግል ቦክሱን ማግኘት ይችላሉ። የጉግል ቦክሱንም ከኢንተርኔትና ከቲቪዎት ጋር ካገናኙ በኋላ ቀሪው ስምና የአባልነት ክፍያውን መሙላትና መመልከት ብቻ ነው። እንግዲህ አሁን ኢቢኤስ በእጆ ነው። ኢቢኤስ የእርሶና የቤተሰቦ ተቀዳሚ ምርጫ።
What do you see in Ethiopia, and especially in a revolution of tech and science? What was your observation? And if you saw something that needs to be improved, definitely there is. So what's your advice? What was your observation? What was your experience overall?
Yeah, I mean, well, from what I saw, definitely there are many people passionate about IT, about computer software, and I have many friends. Aside from these activities, I have many friends who live in Ethiopia who are involved, who are software engineers themselves, who have told me that ICT has been progressing in Ethiopia. The government now realizes how important it is, and many people are realizing how important it is, and I think that's very good. About what kinds of things might help it go forward more faster or further. So actually I asked, I'm in academia, right? I'm not, a lot of kind of forward movement happens kind of in industry. So I asked a lot of my friends. I have many friends involved in startups, in industry. I asked them, what, in all the startups that you've been involved in, what did you see that really helps things out? One thing that I was told is, a friend of mine gave me a video to watch. There's very interesting videos on YouTube. It's called The Secret History of Silicon Valley. And it talks about, Silicon Valley, this is the tech center of the United States, right? And even in some senses, maybe not the world, maybe. It's one of the hottest tech spots in the world. How did it get to be that way? And I recommend anyone who has access to watch this video. It's on YouTube.
What's the name again?
The Secret History of Silicon Valley. I think the speaker's name is Steve Blank. And kind of, it all started, I'm not going to get into the whole thing because it's long, but it all started with World War II, and the government realizing that, hey, there are all these smart people in academia, maybe we can help them in our war efforts, develop technology. And that's really where it got started. And one of the people, Terman, who was an academic who was at Stanford, well, he was at Stanford, went to Harvard, back to Stanford, was really one of the key players in this. And kind of when he was at Stanford, he started encouraging university faculty to also have their own businesses, which back then I think was a very, it was unheard of. If you're an academic, you're an academic. You don't have a company on the side. You don't mix these things. And he also made it very easy to do licensing, right? So one, you have to worry about protecting your
IP,
patents, etc. Exactly, your IP. So he made that very easy, and also what some of the things I saw in that video, government support. So in 1958, this is now decade and a half after the war, there was this. It was related to the Small Business Administration, which is a part of the government, where they did some matching of like seed funding.
Okay.
So they really wanted to like kind of jumpstart the whole VC venture capital market of people investing into tech. One of the ways they did it is they said, look, for like private investments in these tech companies, for every dollar that you invest, the government will match seed funding at some ratio, and that really helped and kind of decreasing. So now we have these capital gains. The tax rate went lower. That really helped because people realized, hey, I can save on my taxes by investing. So these kinds of things help. Also, things I was told, mentorship, having access to people who've been through, developing a company and getting tips from them. Internships. Internships help a lot. So one suggestion one of my friends said is, can we somehow get a lot of companies with experience, big companies, to have some kind of presence in Ethiopia, and have Ethiopian students go and intern there and learn from them.
I think Kenya is
Kenya is
taking advantage
really,
of that because all the major companies, IBM, Google, Microsoft, big offices there.
Right.
I think you are absolutely right. But that's beyond our control, though, right? So. I guess I don't know I'm not a kind of a policy or anything person. I'm a computer science academic. I don't know how to make these things happen. But But that would help.
That would help if those things happened. Other things that people have told me. So one thing that I was told is really helpful. This is a friend of mine who's he's a VP of engineering at Yelp, actually. So he oversees a lot of like hiring, and he says, one of the things that's really helpful is having kind of a well-recognized kind of feeder that basically a program, a school or a program within a school that has a reputation for producing good students, so that when companies, Ethiopian, let's say software companies, when they want to know like who should we hire, they know like kind of where to go. I know we know, I guess, people know what the schools are, I guess, in Addis Ababa, but other things, cutting down on red tape, making entrepreneurship very easy. Mm-hmm. So a friend of mine who's been involved in many startups told me, kind of in California now, if you want to have a startup, what's the paperwork involved? You go to a website and you click a few things. That's it. There's your startup.
They make it so easy.
They make it really easy. So kind of make the processes as efficient as possible for
IT startups.
To encourage entrepreneurship, to encourage startups.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think those would be
That's fantastic. So again, something about Ethiopia. So አማርኛ ያው እንደምትው ትንሽ ቻሌንጅ ላይ እናቴ ኢትዮጵያዊት ነች አባቴ ደግሞ አፍሪካን አሜሪካን ነው እንግሊዝ ሀገር ነው ተወልዶ ያደገው When did you go to Ethiopia for the first time? And also, when did you start feeling the connection? Like, you are half Ethiopian, your mom is Ethiopian, so and then you have that blood, Ethiopian blood, right? So when did you start feeling that connection of let me explore my mom's, homeland and whatnot? And then when did that start growing in you? And then when was the first time that you decided to pack in, let me go see Ethiopia?
So when did I start, connecting to my...
Was she nurturing you, by the way, about Ethiopia and everything?
Not directly.
Okay.
But, it's interesting. I don't know how I stumbled upon these things, but I remember even as a little kid, I would ask my mom, I was curious, I would ask my mom lots of questions. How do you say this? How do you say that? I remember someone gave me, I don't remember who gave me, a dictionary, English Amharic dictionary when I was a little kid, and I would flip through it. And I also had the alphabet. And I learned the alphabet actually when I was maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old.
So you still remember it?
Oh yeah, I can read and write it, no problem.
You can read and write Amharic?
Yeah, I just, my vocabulary is small, so.
That's actually amazing.
Is it? I don't necessarily know the word, all the words I'm reading, like what they mean, but I can read it. I can pronounce what I'm reading. I can write, no problem too. But, so I was always connected even as a little kid. And, when my mom, even in the house, my mom is there, some relatives are there or friends, I hear them speaking Amharic and I pick up some things here and there.
They can't gossip about you then.
Usually I probably understand if I tried, yeah. But then the first time that we actually went, our whole family went, me, my parents, my younger sister, that was 12 years ago. I think it was June or July 2003. We went for almost a month. At that time, that was the first time my mom had ever returned to Ethiopia. She moved to the U.S. in 1972, I believe. So it was
long time ago.
41 years that she stayed in the U.S. before going back. So there were so many relatives that I had never met before. Many I had heard of them, but we had never seen each other face to face. So that whole trip, we didn't really see the country very much. It was just we go to one relative's house, we go to another relative's house.
That's how it goes in Ethiopia.
Exactly. Yeah. So we were seeing lots and lots of relatives, and then at that time I was a student, so usually I was either in class or I had internships or something. But then when I became a grad student, being a grad student, you're much more free. Your schedule is much more up to you. So in 2009, I went back again by myself, and I stayed with my cousin, or my uncle and cousins. And I also got to see a little more of the country. I traveled around. I went to a lot of the famous tourist destinations like
ancient civilization, right?
Gondar, Lalibela, Aksum, etc. So that was very, very nice. And then I went again in 2011. That's when I taught the class for high school students.
Yeah.
And at that point, from then on, I started going often.
You're still doing it?
Yeah, I went in December.
This December.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So what is one thing that you can proudly talk about Ethiopia? ምንድን በኩራት አንድ ነገር ስለ ኢትዮጵያ የምትናገረው ምንድን ነው?
I mean, I love the culture. I mean, I guess one of the things I was mentioning is the ingida takabai. Yeah, I think that's something that's very that doesn't exist everywhere. It doesn't. I would say it exists in Ethiopia in a way stronger form than it does here, and that's one thing that I think is very nice. There are many things that I enjoy about Ethiopia.
But that's one that stands out to you.
Yeah,
what's your mother's name, by the way?
Wubnesh.
Wubnesh?
Wubnesh, yeah.
Wonderful. So, okay, let's talk about a little bit about yourself now, okay? I know you're a nerd, and people think you just lecture and 24/7, but might not be the case. So, what's your hobby? ምንድን ነው ማድረግ የምትፈልገው when you're not working, when you're not coding and studying, whatnot?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? What do you love doing?
Sure. Well, actually, I mean, so one thing I love doing, but it's work related. I love doing research.
None work related this time.
Yeah.
If there's any.
Yeah, no, I have hobbies aside from work, but you're gonna laugh at my hobbies too. So one of my hobbies that I used to do a lot were programming competitions.
That's still related. So.
It's not work. It's not work because actually, the research I do is
that does not involve a computer or algorithm. Okay, how about that?
That does not involve algorithms. Okay. I really love board games, card games.
Okay.
Kartas.
Okay, karta. Okay, yeah. Better. Okay.
So actually, but not just. Probably not even just the standard ones, but really kind of lots of different games, especially German-style board games. I don't know if you're familiar with these.
No, I'm not.
So I mean, I guess one of the most famous German-style board games is a game called Settlers of Catan. But even aside from that, there are a lot of other games in that genre that I really like to play. There's a game that I play a lot. It's a card game, but it has its own deck called Dominion. I play that a lot with my roommate.
I'm sure that involves a lot of algorithm in your mind, so that's why you like it.
Maybe. Right? Yeah. Somehow algorithms are everywhere. I can't help it.
Okay, so that's your hobby. Are you an outdoor person?
Are
you an outdoor person?
Outdoor person.
Yeah.
Not.
ምን አክቲቪቲ ማድረግ ትወዳለህ?
I do travel a lot, I guess, and I like to see places.
Okay.
So
that
maybe, yeah. So when I'm out, but outdoors meaning like I walk around and see, sights.
Okay.
Sports, I don't do a whole lot of sports. I used to watch a lot of StarCraft on Korean television.
That's it? No football, no soccer?
I watched the World Cup a lot last year.
Okay.
But
how did you find it? You like it? How was it?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, honestly, I'm not so into sports, but it was fun to watch.
All right.
I watched Ethiopia versus Nigeria. That was very exciting.
Everybody was gassed up for that.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
በቤቶም ሆነ በመኪናው ወይም በማንኛውም ስፍራ ላይ ሆነው ኢንተርኔት እስካለው ድረስ ኢቢኤስ አብሮት አለ። በስልክ፣ በታብሌት፣ በኮምፒውተር፣ በቴሌቪዥንም ሆነ በማንኛውም ኢንተርኔት መጠቀም የሚያስችል የመገናኛ መሳሪያ ላይ የኢቢኤስ ፕላስን የ24 ሰዓት ስርጭቶች ከኢትዮጵያ ውጭ በማንኛውም ሀገር መከታተል ይችላሉ። ኢቢኤስ ፕላስ ከዓለም አቀፋዊ ስርጭቱ በተጨማሪ የ24 ሰዓት ፊልምና ሙዚቃ ጣቢያዎችን አካቶ መጥቷል። ታዲያ እነዚህ ምርጥ 3 ጣቢያዎች ለማግኘት የሚጠበቅብዎ በቀን 30 ሳንቲም የማይሞላ ማለትም በወር $8.99 ክፍያ ብቻ ነው። ለአመትም ከፈለጉን ደግሞ 2 ወሩን በነፃ እንሸልሞታለን። ምርጫው በስልክ አንድሮይድ ስማርትፎን ከሆነ ጉግል ፕሌይ ስቶር ላይ ኢቢኤስ ቲቪ ብለው ይጻፉና ይፈልጉ። ከዚያም ኢንስቶል በማድረግ ኢቢኤስ ኤችዲ ወይም የኢቢኤስ ፕላስ፣ የኢቢኤስ ሲኒማ፣ የኢቢኤስ ሙዚቃ ለ24 ሰዓት አማርጠው ይመልከቱ። ሌላው ደግሞ በቀጥታ በቴሌቪዥን መስኮት ፕሮግራሞችን መከታተል ካሻው ኬብል ደና ሰንብት ካሰኙት የዘመኑ ቴክኖሎጂዎች አንዱ የሆነው ጉግል ቲቪን መጠቀም ይችላሉ። የአማዞን ድረገጽ ላይ ወይም በአቅራቢያው ባለ ኤሌክትሮኒክስ መሸጫ መደብር በመሄድ ጉግል ቦክሱን ማግኘት ይችላሉ። የጉግል ቦክሱንም ከኢንተርኔትና ከቲቪዎት ጋር ካገናኙ በኋላ ቀሪው ስምና የአባልነት ክፍያውን መሙላትና መመልከት ብቻ ነው። እንግዲህ አሁን ኢቢኤስ በእጆ ነው። ኢቢኤስ የእርሶና የቤተሰቦ ተቀዳሚ ምርጫ።
My next question is, if you remember any incident in the past in your life, it can be something very joyful, it can be something that's sad, or that changed your perspective in life and whatnot. So do you recall any incident in your life?
So there are some. I guess one that I can say that's related to computer science, math, is when I started at MIT. So I mentioned I was kind of clueless in high school, and that I didn't even know what MIT was. I didn't know many things. And when I got to MIT, I didn't really know. I had taken math classes, of course, in high school and my whole life, but I didn't really know what a mathematician does. Like what is a professional mathematician? What does it mean to major in math? What are you learning? And I didn't really have a good sense of what mathematical proofs were, and that's a big part of math, are proofs. So I remember growing up, I used to take the honors version of classes. So when I got to MIT, and there were many different first-year math classes, depending on your level. So if you didn't feel very comfortable with math, they had like an easier version. And then if you felt like you were very good at math, you could take the hardest version. There are many levels though, maybe 4 levels, something like that. So not really knowing what any of the levels meant, I signed up for like kind of the most extreme version of
the toughest.
Yeah, the toughest intro math.
And then what happened?
And in a class of 1,000, so the entering class to MIT is 1,000 every year. So out of that 1,000, the number of people who took this kind of hardest intro level math, it was something like 30. So and when I looked around the room, there were people who had represented their country in math Olympics. Like, so there's this IMO, it's called International Math Olympiad. So there was a gold medalist from China. It was like one of 6 people China sent to represent China in math.
Billion or something.
Out of their billion plus people, there were people from everywhere: China, Mexico, Bulgaria, Colombia, the U.S., everywhere, like countries from all over the place. And kind of the best people, some of the best people from those countries were in this class, and I didn't have nearly the level of experience that they had. And I remember the first, one of the first classes that we had for that class, like in the classroom. The teacher went over, the professor, he went over a proof that the square root of 2 is irrational, which, some mathematical fact. And for, I think, all the other people in the class, that was basic to them. They were probably like, oh, I learned this when I was, 8 years old or something, But for me, it was very new, because I hadn't been exposed to this kind of rigorous mathematics before, and I found it very interesting and exciting. And I realized just how much I didn't know, and a lot of the students around me knew a lot more just from their backgrounds. I have 2 things played in my favor. One is that my peers, the fellow students, even they're very smart, but they're also very friendly. So I used to ask them lots of questions, because I wanted to know what they knew. and I spent a lot of time asking questions, and they answered me. That was great. And another thing that really helped me, at that time, the way MIT grading worked, your entire first year of university, you don't get grades. You either, like for every class, you get a pass or fail, or they called it no record. It doesn't, like, it doesn't count. So you don't really have to worry about A, B, or C. As long as you get any passing grade, it's a pass.
It's for progress. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had no stress related to grades. I was just trying to absorb as much material as I could in that first year, and that I'm really grateful that they had that kind of grading system, because by the time the second year came, that year was enough to help me catch up to the background that I didn't have.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So we only have a couple of questions now. So you have achieved a lot academically, and you're a professor at one of the finest school. So I should ask, who's your role model? So ማን ነው በዚህ አስተዳደግ ላይ ለዚህ ውጤት ለዚህ success እንድትደርስ influence ያደረገ? Who's your role model?
My role model.
It can be people, it can be ideal, it can be a book, it can be anyone. It can
right. Yeah, it's funny. I never, when it comes to academics, I never really had kind of a role model, in the sense that it wasn't really aspiring to be like someone else who had achieved some kind of academic success was never really my motivation. I just really enjoyed math kind of inherently. Like, I just loved math. I loved computer science, and I just wanted to pursue it because it was fun. To me, it was like a game. It's like, why do you play this game? It's just I like it. But some of my role models, usually it's like, I usually choose role models, I guess, based on kind of people who I think have good character, good humility, have good kind of personality, and they're like role models for me who I want to have have kind of behavior. Was behavior sinesarant?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
In that way, but it's completely. Sorry.
And from that angle, who's your role model?
From that angle, I always say, I don't know. Like, there are two cousins of mine who I just really love their kind of behavior.
So you have two cousins who are your role models.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
You can say that, I guess. Yeah.
Are they younger, older? Your cousins?
Like early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They're around my age.
Interesting.
Yeah. But when it comes to academics, though, I mean, I do have other people who I really admire, because I really like, for example, I really like computer science research, algorithms, right? So there are some algorithms researchers out there who I really love their work. It's like if you like to read books, you have a favorite author, right? So I love algorithms. I have some favorite algorithms people.
Yeah.
Who I really like. I really love their work. There are people like that.
Definitely makes sense. I'm coming to my final question, which is not a question.
Okay.
It is just to say you can say anything. So this is yours. This is your time. You can cover any topic before we wrap up our interview. So I will let you be.
Okay. Well, thanks again for inviting me here. Yeah, any topic, I guess I'll go back to, just repeating and stressing something I said earlier, which I think is was very influential for me, which is that idea of like self-training, where, you said you didn't want me to mention hobbies that were programming related, but there was a summer, actually, I remember when I was an undergrad. There was a summer where I spent almost all day, every day, just doing problems. I mean, maybe 8 hours a day. I was just going online, finding algorithms problems and solving them. And that really, I mean, I didn't see it as studying or as work. I saw it as fun. I mean, I saw it as learning new things and mastering something. And there was some competitive aspect to it. I mentioned that there were some competitions that revolved around these problems on websites like Topcoder. But yeah, I mean, that to me was a really good experience, I think, when I was younger that really got me into algorithms and really trained me very well for it, I guess.
በጣም አመሰግናለሁ። I think የመጨረሻው ነጥቡ በጣም ኪ ነገር ነው። self training ወይም self discipline እንግዲህ በራሱ ጥረት ነው ለዚህ የበቃው ማለት ነውና ጀላኒ እንግዲህ ጥሬና አክብረህ እዚህ ድረስ መጥተህ ላይፍህን የአካዳሚክ ፕሮፌሽናል ኤንድ ፐርሰናል ላይፍ ሁኔታዎች አጫውተህ ከዚህም ደግሞ ተመልካቾቻችን አንዳንድ ትምህርት እንዲወስዱ ስላደረክ በጣም ነው የማመሰግነው በተመልካቾቼ ስም. On behalf of my viewers, I really would like to say thank you very much for coming. He just came from a flight actually from Boston and just straight to the studio for interview. So I really want to appreciate you doing this because I believe in, I know for sure that people will be inspired by your path and follow suit. So በጣም ነው የማመሰግነው ጀላኒ. Thank you. ተመልካቾቻችን ከዶክተር ጀላኒ ኔልሰን ጋር ያደረኩት እንግዲህ ቆይታ ይሄን ይመስል ነበር። ከህይወቱ ብዙ ነገር እንደተማራችሁ ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ። አይ ኖ ብዙ ኮንቨርሴሽን ኦልሞስት ሁሉም በሱ ሳይድ በእንግሊዝኛ ነው የነበረው። እንግዲህ ያ የላንጉዌጅ መናገር አማርኛ ብዙም ስለማይችል በዛ የተነሳ ነው እንደዛ ያደረግነው። ነገር ግን እንዳልኳችሁ በእናቱ ኢትዮጵያዊ በአባቱ ጥቁር አሜሪካዊ ሆኖ ለኢትዮጵያ ደግሞ ብዙ ፍቅር አለው። እየሄደ አሁን እውቀቱን በነፃ በአመት አንዴ ወይ ሁለቴ እየሄደ ሼር ያደርጋል። የሃይስኩል ተማሪዎችን ኮምፒውተር ፕሮግራሚንግ ያስተምራል። ለብዙዎች ደግሞ ስኮላርሺፕ እንዴት እንደሚገኝ መንገዱን ያሳያቸዋልና ይሄ በጣም ደስ የሚል ምግባር ነው። ለዛም ነው በዚህ እንግዳ የመጥቶ ሆኖ እንዲጫወት የፈለኩት። ብዙዎቻችሁ ደግሞ አዲስ አበባ ሲመጣ ያያችሁት ይሄው ደግሞ ዛሬ ከኔ ጋር በስቱዲዮ ሆኖ አይታችሁታል። እንግዲህ ብዙ ነገር እንደተማራችሁ ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ። ሳምንት በሌላ ፕሮግራም ነው የምጠብቃችሁ። አስተያየቶቻችሁን ለተለመደ ብጽፉልኝ ይደርሰኛል። በፌስቡክ ፔጅ ላይም ብትመጡና ኢንባክስ ብታደርጉኝ ታገኛላችሁ። ስፔሻሊ ኦፊሻል ፔጅ ላይ ካደረጋችሁ የኔን ፕሮግራም በዛ ላይ በደንብ መከታተል ትችላላችሁ። ምን እንደማቀርብ አንዳንድ የቴክኖሎጂ ቶፒኮችንም ስታተስ ፖስት አደርጋለሁ ማለት ነው። ሳምንት በሌላ ፕሮግራም እስከማገኛችሁ ሰለሞን ሙልጌታ ካሳ ነኝ።